Hello, everyone. Thank you so much for joining me today. For today's video, we're going to cover Tesla's claim of 20 million cars per year by 2030. Is it even possible? Is Elon crazy? What the hell's wrong with Tesla saying these crazy numbers? Let's go right in because there's so much to cover here. There's a lot. Thank you all so much for the folks on this list for becoming members here since the last video. I really appreciate you guys. Thank you so much for your support. It's truly humbling. Really, really appreciate it. If you do want to become a member and gain access to exclusive content on Fridays and to be part of my community and get access to a private Discord, join right below this video. You also get some random emojis, and I forgot my freaking cursor. And now that I find my cursor, let's go ahead and get started. 20 million per year by 2030 is the seemingly outlandish claim by Tesla. And there's two core components here that we have to look at. We have to look at production and we have to look at demand. Let's start with production for the kind of first half of this video and then deep dive demand secondary. For production, the key thing to keep in mind here is that Tesla seems to have a track record of achieving ambitious production goals. And we'll go through a little bit of a history in the Tesla lore. Let's go back to the year 2014. By that time, Tesla was only really selling one car. It was the Model S, and the Model X was in the works, and it was set to really hit the stage in 2015 in earnest. In 2014 full year, Tesla made 35,000 cars total, not per quarter, not per month, total for the entirety of the year in 2014. 35,000 cars, and they were all Model S's. And around that time, they made an announcement around this weird looking thing that some of you may know what it is. This back in 2014 was the building site for Giga Nevada. And at that time, Tesla set a goal that said, hey, we need to build this thing to really get us to the next stage of our career. Nowadays, this thing looks like that 7, 8, 9 years later. And it's building a bunch of batteries for Tesla. Around that same time, Tesla said, hey, we need to get to 500,000 per year by 2020. That's our goal. In the same year that they said that they're going to be able to ship 35,000 cars in that whole year. And with that target, the cars that came that were going to allow that to happen were the Model 3 and the Model Y, Tesla's next generation vehicle at the time, the cheaper cars that would allow them to get to those much higher levels. And back in 2014, just to give you an idea of the sort of vibe around this claim, Morgan Stanley, Adam Jonas, Tesla will not be building 500,000 cars by 2020. Crazy. A research note to clients on Wednesday in which he expressed skepticism about Tesla's stated goal of building 500,000 electric cars annually by 2020. Jonas thinks it will be less than 300,000. He also cut his price target, blah, 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 stock price stuff from back in the day before the two splits that we had. The general consensus around that time in 2014 was no way. This has never been done before. This would mean that Tesla has to 20, 30x their production in 6 years. This is insane. It's impossible to do with cars. Okay, cool. Fast forward to 2020. Tesla's full year deliveries, 499,550. Okay. So they met their goal. They 16x'd in 6 years, which was completely unheard of at the time, especially in 2014. This means that there was a 55% compounded annual growth rate associated to that growth. So if we apply the same logic from where we are today to 2030, to get to 20 million cars by 2030, this means that Tesla would have to roughly 11x in 7 years. At 1.8 million, if they do 1.8 million in 2023, they would have to 11x from that point. And that's a 41% compounded annual growth rate from today, from 2023. If we look at what this looks like on a graph, this is your 2013 number of 35,000 units. This is your 2020 number of 500,000 units. And this is our 2023 number of 1.8. And our number of 2030 of 20 million cars per year. You can see that it seems very daunting to get to this point, right? It's just so many numbers. But it's kind of fascinating that what the math says is that from here to here, it took a slower rate than from here to here. Math. It's weird. Tesla has to grow 25% slower from here to 2030 to reach their 20 million per year goal versus what they did in 2014 through 2020. Even when they were getting those insanely outlandish claims, Tesla has to go slower now versus then. Okay? If you're enjoying this content so far, I would love it if you throw me a like. It helps the YouTube algorithm show this to more people. Thank you so much. But you may say, well, 20 million cars is so much. It's so many cars. It's so many cars. Toyota at their peak was 10 million units per year. And Tesla ain't Toyota. Toyota, they're masters of lean. They're masters of selling a lot of cars and building a lot of cars. Okay, they're phenomenally good at what they do. But let's analyze it from Tesla's perspective and kind of really understand the paradigm shift here that's happening from a production perspective. A few seconds here. What factory is this? 3, 2, 1. Y'all probably already know because the name's on here somewhere. This is Tesla's Fremont factory. Tesla's Fremont factory has 5.3 million square feet. It was originally the NUMMI plant, which was a joint venture between GM and Toyota, which built cars up through really 2008 when the financial crisis hit. And that's when Tesla came in and essentially bought the factory, pennies on the dollar. And now Tesla's building 650,000 cars per year out of that facility with the S, the 3, the X, and the Y, which, by the way, is 30% more than NUMMI's peak production that Toyota and GM reached at the time. And they did this with first generation production lines building the S, the X, the 3, and the Y. So a newcomer was able to do 30% more production out of the same exact footprint that is not optimized for EVs versus GM and Toyota, who are two very experienced automakers. So if we do this a little bit of math, sarcasm, of how much production per square foot they're able to do, Tesla out of Fremont can do about 123,000 cars per 1 million square feet of production space. And this is a very sort of key metric I want you to keep in mind. 123,000 cars per 1 million square feet. And this is because of their vertical integration, engineering, and manufacturing. This additional production rate is because of what Tesla is, which is an expert of producing and manufacturing. Now let's look at one of the Tesla's. I gave it away. I was going to ask you what this was. Man, you already know. This is Tesla Giga Texas, all right? This is their brand new factory out of Austin, Texas here. Some stats around this facility: 10 million square feet. It has next generation lines, starting with the Model Y, and it will also be building the Cybertruck. It's purpose-built for EVs. So that shape that you saw, this diamond shape, is purpose-built for the manufacturing of electric vehicles, which is very different from Fremont. And it's on 1,700 acres. It's 5 times more acreage than Fremont, which means that Giga Texas is heavily expandable. And this is something that Tesla has been doing with all their new facilities in Shanghai and Berlin, as an example. These are sitting on big land areas where they can expand their production. So if we just take Giga Texas for what it is, simply from a square footage perspective, with zero improvements to processes, flow, build out, engineering, etc., from Fremont, if we take that 123,000 square cars per 1 million square feet, this means that Giga Texas, without any improvement, should be able to do roughly 1.23 million cars per year. However, we know that from Tesla's Investor Day presentation that the Gen 3 platform for the company is going to have some massive changes to how Tesla is going to be building cars. One of them is which? They're going to enable people to work simultaneously around a car, which leads to 44% operator density and 30% space-time efficiency, which basically means they're going to be able to do more with less space. They will also be integrating some parallel assembly processes that's going to enable them to essentially shrink the size of the factory and have parts arrive already made to the car for each one of the areas that the car is built from. But most importantly, and this is really the biggest slide, I believe, when it really applies to how we should think about the Gen 3 car. The Gen 3 platform will allow Tesla to leverage a brand new footprint that's going to be 40% smaller than the legacy footprint, which is things like Fremont, right? The legacy footprint that Tesla has. So what this means is that this 123,000 cars per 1 million square feet really is 123,000 per 600 square feet, because you need 40% less space to crank out the same number of cars. On a 1 million square foot basis, a different way of thinking about this is that Tesla can now crank 205,000 cars per 1 million square feet, roughly. If the math holds true and Tesla's ability to improve the manufacturing line becomes the case, which they've shown a track record to be the case. And so a Giga Texas size factory at 10 million square feet, which is what it is, then under the Gen 3 processes should be able to allow Tesla to do 2 million cars per year for about 10 million square feet. This is in addition to In addition to Tesla planning new Shanghai plant to more than double the China capacity, which today is at 1 million cars. In addition to Tesla's announced expansion of Giga Nevada to dramatically increase their battery production for these cars, in addition to Tesla doubling production in Germany with an additional expansion, basically doubling it from 500,000 to a million, in addition to the announcement of Gigafactory Mexico, which is going by all signs will be just as big, if not bigger, than Giga Texas, and it should have the same exact level of production. So, and in addition to, I keep saying that, another factory that's going to be announced and it's going to be built out in parallel with Giga Mexico, which is something that Tom Zhu spoke about at Investor Day. And this is all in the works right now. Right now, today, Tesla is working on this right now. It's already been announced. They're working on it. So if we take those numbers together, Fremont we know can do 650,000. Shanghai with the expansion is going to be 2 million. Berlin with the expansion, it's going to be 1 million. Austin with the Gen 3 platform and expanding into its acreage that it has, the ridiculous amount of land they have, should be right around 2 million. Mexico, we know is going to be around 2 million based on the stats that I just shared. And whatever parallel factory that Tesla is building with Mexico, wherever that may be in the world, should very well be around that same exact 2 million mark, given that Shanghai and Austin and Mexico are all going to be producing that many cars. You add all those numbers together, and Tesla has secured, say, the land area, the capacity to produce 10 million cars per year already. These factories are already announced. As of 2023, Tesla is working on a land area that will make 10 million cars per year right now. So what does this mean? If we use that same 2 million-ish cars per factory or the 200,000 cars per million square feet, then if the same trend continues, Tesla really needs to announce 5 more factories between now and 2030, each constructing 2 million per year to achieve the 20 million per year production target by 2030. And that's just a doubling in 7 years. Seems achievable. 5 factories in the next 7 years. That's less than 1 announcement per year. Plus expansions, right? It's whatever you can do to utilize the land that you have. It seems to me, you tell me in the comments, quite achievable. So from a production perspective, Tesla seems to be right on schedule. And I think there's some fear and concerns about Tesla not having enough announcements to get to 2030. I think they have more than enough capacity to get to 2030. It's just perhaps it's not well understood, or maybe there's additional information that Tesla has to share to make it a little bit more clear. But I believe it's quite clear that Tesla has 10 million already in the works, and it's just a matter of throwing up the buildings. They're already announced. They don't have to announce anything else to get to 10 million. To get to 20 million, they have to announce 5 more. So that's production. Let's get into demand. This is going to be the tougher one to quantify, and I'm going to try my best. And you guys tell me y'all tell me in the comments. Come on, I'm from Texas. What do you guys think so far? Real quick, I want to let you know that I started a Substack. It's at farzamazbahi.substack.com. Link for that in the description below. A weekly newsletter about the world of EVs, technology, AI, whatever. Feel free to subscribe by going right into the description. If you want to support the channel through merch, you can purchase a hoodie just like mine, or like the shirts here and some other options I have as well. Description for that in the comments. And then I also have a promo code for Athletic Greens. It's a supplement I use every single morning. Free travel packs and vitamin D in the description as well. Thank you so much. So demand. In 2020, Tesla did 1.3 million deliveries. And in 2023, they're slated to do somewhere between 1.8 to 2 million deliveries. And these deliveries are primarily in the United States, Europe, and China are the 3 markets that Tesla sells into primarily. So a good way of thinking about this is that if we assume that Tesla will do, say, 2 million in 2023, Tesla would have to somehow drum up enough demand or 10x the demand from here to 2030 to get to 20 million cars per year. 2 million times 10, 20. So real quick, in case you're not familiar with what the actual definition of demand is, demand of commodity refers to the quantity of a commodity or a thing. Commodity is basically a word for a thing, which a consumer is willing to buy at a given price and time. But it has to be at a given price. The price dictates what the demand is for a car. And so it's Basically, the price is right. We're trying to play the price is right to find where the right price is to generate enough demand for a car. Let's listen into some comments from Elon Musk from Investor Day that directly address this point to give a little bit of context as to how Tesla is thinking about this equation. Let's go ahead and click this and play it.
It's something I should say with respect to demand, which I've said a few times over the years, but it sometimes needs to be said again, which is overwhelmingly there's the desire for people to own a Tesla is extremely high. The limiting factor is their ability to pay for a Tesla, not do they want a Tesla. It's easy for people in this room to lose sight of that. If your income is far in excess of what a car costs, then you look at value for money, but you do not consider affordability. But for the vast majority of people, it is affordability driven. This is why we cannot simply double the price of the car. Or you could say, and think about things in the limit, where if you had an infinitely desirable car, but it costs $10 million, it wouldn't matter because most people do not have that. So demand is very much a function of affordability, not desire. Very important. One of the things we weren't sure about was the price elasticity of demand for Teslas. So like, as we lower the price, how much does demand increase? And we found that even small changes in the price have a big effect on demand, very big. So that was a good thing to learn.
So there's some information from Elon Musk, leader of Tesla, that price is extremely important to drive demand of a product. Not so much desirability, but price. Although it's important to have something people like, but price in the case of Tesla is extremely, extremely important. Let's also listen to Ray Shefska, who is a seasoned dealership veteran. He and his son run this channel called Car Edge. They also have a YouTube channel together. These guys have been in the auto industry for decades, and they understand the dealership network to a T. And I asked Ray, what does he think about why do people buy a car when they go to a dealership? A gas car, just a legacy car, whatever. What is people's primary concern around buying any vehicle? This was his answer.
I would say that the vast majority of people in this country are what those of us in the industry would always refer to as payment buyers. All they concern themselves with is what the monthly payment's going to be. They don't concern themselves with the price of the car. They don't necessarily concern themselves with the down payment that they're asked to put down. And they definitely don't concern themselves with the length of the loan in order to get that payment to be affordable. Now, having said that, those very payment buyers want to get as much car as they possibly can for that payment that they're looking for. And, when I was actively still in the business, and you would do some research with your customer, trying to find out what their budget was, people would be looking at $35,000 or $40,000 cars, and they go, yeah, but I don't want my monthly payment to be more than $250 a month. Well, those two things don't go together. Okay. So what people felt they could afford and what they wanted were two completely different things. Okay. And if you were the first dealer that had to explain it to them, you weren't selling them a car. If you were the fourth or fifth dealer that was confirming it for them, you were the likely dealer to sell them the car they didn't really want, but that they could afford.
Why is that important? We have two completely separate sources telling us that pricing is by far the most important thing for a car shopper when they buy a car. And desirability is another thing that you have to have at least so that the people want to buy the car, right? So you have to prove out that the car is something people want first, but then the thing that will drive the demand is affordability, how cheap it is. And then Elon Musk also said that if you lower the price a little bit, given Tesla's business right now, you get a lot more demand for that slight lower price. And so what that means is that as Tesla goes down the pricing brackets, they should drum up significantly more demand, non-linearly, meaning that they get a lot more for just little tweaks in pricing. So let's keep this in perspective. As of quarter four, Tesla was able to deliver 405,000 cars globally, deliveries, with cars that start around $43,000. They're delivering at a run rate of 1.6 million cars per year with zero advertising. The Model S starts at $89,990 as we think about it in the high end. And the Model 3 starts at $43,000 starting at the low end. So it's kind of, you have this sort of gap in between the Model 3 and the Model S as you think about the two segments that they sell. The Model 3 is drumming up 20 times more sales than the Model S at half the price. And so this is a description of what Elon is talking about. Real quick, if I go back to this slide, you can see that the Model S and X sold about 17,000 cars, and the Model 3 and Y sold about 388,000 cars, right? The Model S starts at around 90,000. The Model 3 starts around 43,000. 20 times more sales at half the price. And so this is sort of the math that Tesla sees, that where they can very easily describe what's going on, again, with zero advertising. They do not advertise. These cars are sold 100% word of mouth. So this, I think, proves that the desirability is there for the cars. The other thing to keep in mind is that the Model 3 and the Y are not fully ramped as of today. The Model 3 and the Y are still ramping in Shanghai and also in Berlin and in Austin. So with those things in mind, what happens if you cut the price again by 50%? So you go from the S and to the 3, you cut it by half-ish. What happens if you cut it again and get to this more affordable vehicle that Tesla has been working on theoretically? This is where the Gen 3 is so important to Tesla's 20 million car per year target by 2030. So the main components of this Gen 3 is that it's going to allow Tesla to cut the cost of the car by 50%. And then it's also going to allow it to have a total cost of ownership that's significantly lower than one of the cheapest cars you can buy today, which is a Toyota Corolla. So much so that after car payment, fuel, insurance, maintenance, and depreciation, Tesla thinks they can get this next-gen compact car, competitor to the Toyota Corolla and the down-market car, to be 35% less than a Toyota Corolla. So think about the kind of market you are hitting when you're introducing that type of car, where the buyer is extremely price conscious based on what Elon and Ray just told us. The Toyota Corolla today starts at $21,550 in the United States with dealer markups. God knows. God knows how much you pay for this car. But if you are able to buy it from the manufacturer, it's $21,550. And so the Gen 3 compact will be 35% per mile for 5 years less than the price of that car. The other thing to keep in mind here is that as you go down the price bracket, the share of the customers you have access to go up dramatically. Again, pointing back to that Model S and Model 3 comparison and what Elon said about lowering the price and getting much bigger share. This is a study from ARK Invest that shows that as your MSRP, the cost of the car, goes down, your addressable market goes up significantly. And the Model S, the X, the 3, and the Y sort of sit in this bucket here between, say, 40,000 to 100 and God knows how many thousand with the plaids, where they have access to roughly 20% of the market with their current offering right now. And if you assume the US is a decent car market for the global demand, right? This means that if and when, really, Gen 3 comes out and the compact car comes out, Tesla will 5x its addressable market because now they're going to live in this area here, right? They're going to live in this area where they've gone down market and now starting at, say, $25,000-ish, but with the cost of the car being less per mile over 5 years than the Corolla, theoretically, every single buyer in the United States could look at a Tesla compact car. At the very least, they will 5x their market share because now you have all these folks in these brackets wanting to look at the car at the very least. And so based on 2023, 2 million S3XYs, and say they have roughly similar market share, if we assume that 5x increase, then the Gen 3 compact should add another 10 million units to Tesla's total demand pool, right? Because right now they're selling about 2 million cars, and then you add the compact cars, another 10 million. So if you add 10 and 12, it's roughly 12 million, right? But there's very big things here we have to keep in mind as we continue through this calculation, because this doesn't tell the full picture. As you can see, we're not close to 20 million. And the reason why we don't have a full picture is because these price brackets here between 40,000 to 100,000 plus exclude very major categories for Tesla. It excludes a pickup truck. It also excludes a van. And again, we have to keep in mind that the Model 3 and the Model Y are not yet a full ramp. So Tesla is not fully selling into this pricing bracket yet. That's a key thing to keep in mind here for this calculation. We know through Tesla's production expansions and the things they've talked about in their investor days and quarterly calls, Shanghai is going to be expanding for another 1 million units. Berlin's going to be expanding for another 500,000 units from where they are today. Again, these are from where they are today. And then Austin will expand for another 750,000 at least from where they are today. This is without the Gen 3 car. This is for all existing announced cars, the 3, the Y, the X, the S, and the Cybertruck. It's going to add roughly 2.25 million more cars. And they'll be able to do this by utilizing their pricing power and economies of scale. So as they get their Model 3 and Model Y more ramped up, you should see their prices slightly come down over time. Tesla will continue to reduce prices on existing product to try and really maximize the production capabilities of the existing cars that they have today. Potentially, unless the demand is literally insane. But I would expect them to do that, not by a lot, but by some, to be able to max out their capacity. And the one thing that could be surprising is that Tesla's going to aim to do this while keeping industry leading margins of 20% plus, which is completely nuts. And that's theoretically what they'll be able to do with their economies of scale as Berlin, Austin, Shanghai continue to ramp up. They localize the production, the lower costs by doing a lot of those measures. So you add another 2.25 million cars to their existing expected sales of roughly 2 million for 2023. And then you add those two things up, you get to 4.25 million full production with the S3XY, the Cybertruck, and the van. And now we can do the math of 5 times addressable market, because that whole area under the curve that we looked at before has now every segment that you can sell within those pricing brackets. 5 times 4 is what? Roughly, right? Roughly. It's actually a little bit more based on that calculation. But this is one way that I can get to 20 million cars per year in demand just by simply analyzing what is the car market demanding, what are Tesla's plans in the very near term to meet that demand. Does Tesla have pricing power to match that demand? Yes. Has Tesla openly talked about doing that? Yes. And they've clearly outlined the plans on how to go even further down market with the Gen 3 car. And so this is how I arrived to 20 million per year from a demand perspective. Do let me know what you think. However, there are other factors at play that it's not just about math, right? Or my attempt at math, okay? You tell me what you think about these. The US market has a car affordability crisis today that will not be solved for years. The average new car price in the United States is $47,000 per new car right now. Right now. The average new car payment, should be saying here, is $750 per month, not including insurance, not including fuel, not including maintenance, not including depreciation. Very, very expensive cars. And Legacy Auto has heavily biased towards pickups and SUVs in the last 5 years, which has caused this dynamic where people have not been able to get an affordable car, half because people, they like to pay more for a car. Fuel prices were down, but that's what legacy automakers were selling. That's what people wanted to buy, and that's what the bias towards. And so the dynamic we have now is that Legacy Auto has little production capacity for affordable, compelling, profitable, affordable vehicles. I had to throw that in there twice, I guess, by accident, but it really drives home the point. There's a huge gap in affordability in the US today. It's also very important to keep in mind that most of the world does not have the purchasing power of the United States buyer, which means that most of the world will always bias towards a cheaper vehicle because we here in the United States are extremely lucky to have the purchasing power that we do relative to everybody else. So this Gen 3 vehicle should do extremely well and have an outsized really success versus the more expensive vehicles that Tesla has produced. The Gen 3 platform is incredibly important for Tesla's ability to get to that 20 million per year number by 2030. And here's some math for that Gen 3 vehicle that I think really drives home the point as to why this car's demand, I think, is just going to be, even now, it's hard to understand just how many people will actually buy this car, because the implications of this are truly, for me, are mind blowing. But again, tell me what you think. In the United States, as an example, with the EV tax credit, a $25,000 compact car Tesla, which has been rumored to come out here in the next year or two, the lease will be roughly $250 a month, with 6% interest. And again, that $7,500 tax credit that Tesla can take and then pass on to the consumer. And this is with zero down. That $250 a month price is with zero down. You add on $50 of monthly charging on average for a car of that size, with the average miles a US buyer typically puts on a car, with the average electricity rates of now, and with the sort of expected efficiency of this car, which is going to be by far the most efficient electric vehicle on the road. You add on Tesla's own insurance that they've come out with that has shown to be significantly cheaper than competing products, especially in certain markets. And then you add, say, a $25 maintenance plan per month or something, or you decide to budget $25 a month for tires. I don't know what else you need in an electric car. Maintenance is extremely, it's way more cheap versus gas cars, especially with Teslas. And the thing to keep in mind here is that now you can drive a Tesla all in from the lot for $400 a month, all in. Payment, insurance, lease, maintenance, fuel, everything. $400 a month, all of it. Okay? So, if Tesla has been able to sell 1.6 million cars a year with zero advertising, don't you think this car would do really well? That can do $400 a month, that you can get it for $400 a month, rather. You also get these perks with this car you can theoretically purchase for $400 a month all in. You get best safety in its class. You get the best charging network by far, at least in the United States, and probably most of the world. You get EV driving dynamics, battery low to the ground, hugs corners like crazy, accelerates like a madman. Tell me the last time a Toyota Corolla did that. Autonomous hardware. It comes with cameras, standard, that you could turn on and the car can drive you around. Okay? And then you also think about the fact that the global fleet right now is 1.2 billion gas cars. So there's, especially with a lot of governments moving a lot of incentives towards EVs, the forcing function to get electric vehicles out the door is massive, is absolutely massive. What other manufacturer has built-in capacity for an affordable, compelling electric vehicle? And so this is right in tandem with the conversation around competition. I don't know of any other legacy maker that has 10 million units in the works to be produced as of today. And so what other car company can capitalize on that production? And now that we know that the total addressable market, the TAM, is driven by the net price, I would argue that the question isn't how can Tesla drum up 20 million cars per year in demand by 2030. The question is, why wouldn't someone purchase a Tesla for $400 a month all in? That is the real question here for Tesla's demand, in my opinion. Tell me what you think in the comments. And we aren't even talking about robotaxi and FSD, y'all. But I would really love to hear what you have to say. Do you think I have this right? Do you think I have this wrong? Is this crazy pie in the sky? Is this Farzad freaking losing his mind again? I would really love to hear what you have to say. In my opinion, I really think the production side of the business is more than figured out, and it's not nearly as far away as people might think. And I know people have doubts about the demand side. I know it seems sort of impossible to think about this car being able to sell, or these cars being able to sell 20 million per year by 2030. But I think the affordability equation and just how affordable it is going to be to afford a personal private car for $400 a month in the United States, at least, that is so much better than anything else, in my opinion. And I think we have data that also shows that. Why wouldn't people buy that car? It's just really simply that question. If the market is truly driven by affordability, why wouldn't people buy that car when no one else is able to even remotely come close, not just to the scale and the ability to produce at mass numbers, but one would argue the feature set and the safety and the autonomous hardware and the comfort and the performance of Tesla, which I believe they've really showcased for the last decade or so. So I hope this video was informative and helpful, and we'll see you in the next one. Thank you all so much. I hope this was time well spent. I have no idea how long this video is, but I hope it was good. Take it easy, everybody. Love you guys.